Alright, UFC 299 was last night, and Sean O'Malley absolutely dominated Marlon Cheeto Vera in their rematch, ending all questions about the rivalry, about Cheeto Vera beating him all the way back in 2020. And Dustin Poirier also got a massive knockout win, showing everybody who he is, but it didn't come out struggling. We're gonna get into that later. But UFC 299, it was a good pay-per-view, it was good prelims, we were excited for the card, and it did live up to expectation. And I want to talk about the main card and some of the best moments about the card, but mostly this video is going to be about the main event and co-main event. But I'm gonna touch on the first fights in a little bit. Let me know in the comment section below, what do you guys think of UFC 299? And what was your favorite part? What was your favorite fight? Let me know in the comment section below and I will reply. I'm curious to see you guys' answers. Before we get into it, I want to remind you guys to subscribe button, like, comment, and share. We're almost at 12K, guys. You guys have been killing it this week with the support, with all the news coming out, with all these fights. The support this week has been amazing. And thank you as always, Betting.bet, for sponsoring this video and sponsoring us throughout whole UFC 299 and Francis Ngannou versus Anthony Joshua. Guys, these were massive fights, but there are more massive fights. Every weekend there are fights. So if you guys want the best betting lines, the best sports book, go tune into Betting.bet, go on their websites in the link in the description, and soon enough my picks are going to be on the website. Go check it out there. I seriously can't thank those guys enough, and remember, it's 18 and plus and gamble responsibly. First thing I want to say is, outside of the MVP versus Kevin Holland fight, and not only did I get every pick right, but I got the method of victory right in each fight that I predicted. Now we're gonna get into the Kevin Holland and Michael Venom Page fight. That fight I was completely wrong in, but we saw Curtis Blades get a second round TKO of Jailton Almeida. We saw Mateusz Gamrot win by decision. Rebelis Despain continued his massive win streak where he's knocking these guys out in literally less than 30 seconds. Like, his last two fights before his UFC debut, I mean, it was like 3 seconds and 4 seconds. This guy is a monster. He's finally in the UFC. It's hard to see how good he is because of the competition he has faced, but I'm definitely excited to see how he progresses, especially because this guy has seemingly taken no damage. So realistically, you should be able to fight pretty actively, especially being a heavyweight, not having to cut weight. But we get to the main card, and Petr Yan and Song Yadong, they fought, and Petr Yan did win a decision. And not only did I correct, of course, the method of victory, but I also predicted the rounds. I said round 1 would go to Song Yadong, and the last 2 rounds would go to Peter. I did see some people saying Song Yadong should have won that 3rd round. I don't really see it with that takedown. I thought that Petr Yan did very good in the later rounds, and it looked like Song Yadong was very good. I don't think this is the end for Song Yadong. He definitely should continue. Don't know why I said that as if he was going to retire, but the point is, yeah, he should definitely, I think, still go up a little bit. I don't think his stock drops at all from that performance. Just fell a little bit short. But for Petr Yan, I think he needs to fight Marlon Vera. That's the fight that needs to be made. They were supposed to fight a couple years ago. That fight wound up not happening. It's the perfect time. 5-round main event. I say they do it. Now for Jack Della, Maddalena, and Gilbert Burns, I mean, Gilbert Burns had a great start, looking like he was even going to win the fight up until that 3rd round where he got TKO'd by Jack Della Maddalena. Vicious elbows. I mean, it was kind of a late stoppage. Honestly, could have been called a little bit earlier. It's sad for Gilbert Burns because I think he's one of the best welterweights to never win a title. This guy is extremely talented. His ground game, his power, his strength, wrestling, everything. It's just all put together so well. Look at the fight with Hamza. Look at the fight with even Usman where he dropped him. Gilbert Burns is dangerous, or maybe was, because the guy is 37 now. He's getting up there in age. It feels like that Hamza fight just happened, but realistically, it's 2 years old. Gilbert Burns might not be the same fighter, and we're gonna have to see in his next performances because I'm sure that he is going to fight someone a little bit more down the rankings. And for Jack Della Maddalena, I think the Shavkat call out was genius, but ballsy as hell because Shavkat, of course, is a beast. I think it should be a fight night main event. Make it soon, make it for June, something like that. And then the winner of that could fight the winner of Leon versus Bilal. And MVP Kevin Holland, MVP finally made his debut, and it wasn't the greatest fight of all time, but it still had some entertaining parts. I felt like the speed of MVP was definitely overwhelming for Kevin Holland. I mean, he even told his corner that, and it was kind of showing shades of the Wonderboy fight. Now, I did predict in this fight that MVP would have a lot of success with the speed, be faster, and get some points, but I thought that Kevin Holland would eventually catch him, maybe with the right hand. He did the same thing to Wonderboy. It did not happen, right? MVP just looked very good. He was fast. I mean, his distance control was amazing. His footwork was very good, too. Kevin Holland just didn't really do a good job cutting off the octagon away from MVP. He should have tried to make MVP a little bit more square by pressuring him, and it just seemed like at one point in the fight, to me, in the 3rd round, it seemed like Kevin Holland kind of just threw the fight. I mean, I thought that Kevin Holland won that 2nd round, but it just seemed like, man, he was getting frustrated. He was mimicking MVP, kind of complaining to him, and overall, I thought it was a good performance from MVP. I think he goes up in the rankings. Maybe he does fight Wonderboy. I mean, that would be a really interesting fight. And for Kevin Holland, man, this is definitely a devastating loss for him. Back-to-back losses against top guys. Where does he go next? I don't know, man. I mean, is this really it for Kevin Holland? I'm a big Kevin Holland fan, but man, the guy has lost, gotten to the top, lost again. Now he has to go back to the top. I mean, who do you feed him? Do you give him now these top prospects, these guys that are around his ranking, or do you try to build him back up like they already tried to do by giving him people like Santiago Ponzinibbio and things like that? It's interesting, man. I don't know. We're gonna have to see. As Kevin Holland ran out of passes, I mean, I don't know, man. I think we'll be able to answer that question when we see who he's matched up with next. I wouldn't be surprised if they start kind of sacrificing him, saying, look, these guys need to fight these young prospects to give them a name. I don't know, man. Is Kevin Holland no longer the young prospect? He's up there in age, 31. I like Kevin Holland a lot, man, so it hurts as a fan to say this, but I don't know what's next for him, honestly. But let's get to the co-main main event, alright, Dustin Poirier, Benoit Saint Denis. Now, I predicted Dustin Poirier by KO, TKO in the later rounds, and there's a lot to discuss because Benoit Saint Denis, there's a lot of rumors about him, you know, being injured, having an infection, dealing with that this whole week, and there's a lot of evidence to support that, right? I mean, if you look, there's a mark on his face in the corner left of his face, but the first round was dominant from Benoit Saint Denis. Not only dominant, I mean, I thought he looked beautiful out there, you know, landing good shots against Dustin Poirier. I mean, he made Dustin look like nothing in that first round. I thought that was so dominant. And then we get to the second round, and yeah, Benoit Saint Denis once again is having some success, and Dustin Poirier just keeps dropping to a guillotine, trying to get guillotined. And I know everyone's making jokes. Everyone's like, oh, this is funny. Guys, no, it's not cool. This is lame as hell. I'm not gonna glaze Dustin Poirier like a lot of these dudes do. No, like, that is so stupid. Especially against a guy like Benoit Saint Denis, who's been working on his wrestling, whose game plan is wrestling. You're not gonna catch him with a guillotine. Dustin Poirier has never caught anybody with a guillotine, and it might happen in the future, but still, no, this is just stupid. Like, I can't believe this. Like, I was watching this in disbelief. He drops Benoit Saint Denis and goes for a fucking guillotine. Dustin, he's a legend. I get it. He's a great fighter, has entertaining fights, but what were you thinking? Like, that is one of the most stupidest things. I get it. You almost got Khabib with a guillotine. We all remember it. We all understand it. We got it. Like, come on, dude. And then Benoit Saint Denis, you know, he doesn't go for a takedown. You know, luckily he didn't take Dustin Poirier down. And Poirier hits him with the nastiest check hook I think I've ever seen in the UFC. Like, one of the nastiest. Puts out Benoit Saint Denis in the smoothest follow-up shot. I mean, that was unnecessary. Benoit Saint Denis absolutely destroyed at the end. And yeah, was it a factor, him slowing down because of the infection, right? I mean, apparently he was very weak out there, according to Benoit Saint Denis, and I could believe it because he was doing very good in the first round. And if that is the case and he truly was suffering with his infection, I don't want to see him go back. I don't want to see him go forward. I think you should fight a guy, you know, within that top 5 to top 10 range. Maybe he fights Mateusz Gamrot or something like that. Maybe he fights RDA if RDA is going to go back to the lightweight. I don't know. I definitely would want to see him, you know, fight a guy that's an interesting fight, that's an interesting matchup that he can win, that has some stakes on the line, and really test how good this guy is, because I think he's really good, especially how he looked out there, because I would not have believed that he would look that dominant. But speaking of dominance, the main event showed all dominance from Sean O'Malley, 50-45ing Chito Vera. I mean, that fourth round, in my opinion, I think you could potentially give it to Marlon Vera. I didn't, but it's close. Marlon Vera had some good success in the first half, and the second half was all O'Malley, and Chito Vera was just worse than Sean O'Malley. I mean, Sean O'Malley was just way better than the guy. I mean, his footwork, his feints, I mean, from a technical standpoint, Sean O'Malley looked amazing. Like, literally giving Chito so many looks, and basically Chito should have definitely have walked him down, you know what I mean? He definitely, that was the game plan. Walk him down, get Sean O'Malley's back to the end of the octagon, cut him off and land your shots. But the problem is you can't do that because everything Sean O'Malley does, it's a feint. So you don't know, is he throwing something? You're constantly backing up. You cannot back up this guy because all he's doing is feints. Plus, even when you do get his back to the octagon, his footwork is so good, you know, mixing in the feints and then going to the other side. So it's so hard to track this guy down, and that's one of the best assets in Sean O'Malley's game. And that's what he basically did to Chito Vera. It was mostly in the open space. Anytime it wasn't open space, it was in close corners. We saw Chito have some success, right? I mean, we saw him with the body shot, land the body shot at the end of the fight, and really hurt O'Malley. And if the fight would have been a minute longer, I mean, who knows what would have happened to O'Malley? He could have once again lost the fight. It would have been another weird way he lost the fight, but still would have lost the fight to Chito Vera again. And I was just super impressed, man. Nobody's done that to Marlon Vera. I mean, who has beaten up Marlon Vera like that other than Corey Sandhagen, of course? Corey Sandhagen, I think, is definitely one of the most slept-on guys in the division. I'd love to see a fight against him and O'Malley, man. I see him calling out Umar Nurmagomedov for International Fight Week. Like, that is just dumb, Corey. Why are you looking for Umar? You should not be choosing to fight Umar Nurmagomedov. Pick a guy in the top 5. Call out Merab for God's sake or something like that. Like, especially with Sean O'Malley wanting to fight Ilia Topuria. And it doesn't look like the Ilia Topuria fight is going to happen because Ilia Topuria did tweet fight Merab. I think that has something to do with them, you know, training together recently, with them both being Georgian. I think he's just looking out for Merab, trying to get Merab the title shot first. But it seemed like Dana White also agrees. So I think we're most likely going to see Merab versus Sean O'Malley next. And that fight's going to be interesting because Merab is a guy that goes forward, and will he be able to trap O'Malley with O'Malley's footwork? And Chito had nothing to threaten Sean O'Malley with to make O'Malley go backward. Merab's got the takedown threat, right? Merab is throwing a bunch of shots. He also has some pretty decent striking. He's got a lot of weapons in his arsenal. I definitely see O'Malley on the back foot in that fight, and how good is he going to be? Can he land that shot? I think that's the question, and I absolutely think he can. I think people are sleeping on O'Malley in that matchup. I think it's actually not so bad of a matchup, especially with the height difference in the range. I think O'Malley could do very good. Now, I don't know who will win. I'm going to make a decision when that fight gets announced and when the fight's going to happen, but there's a potential that O'Malley can win that fight. Like, do not sleep on O'Malley in that matchup. That isn't a one-sided fight where one guy is clearly going to win. No, I'm excited for that fight. I really do hope it happens. I honestly think that fight potentially is going to be bigger than the Chito Vera fight. And yeah, man, like I said, Chito, he needs to fight Piotr Jan. I think that's the matchup that makes sense. And Sean O'Malley should fight Merab. That's as simple as that. Guys, let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. How good was Sean O'Malley's performance? Guys, thank you guys for watching. You guys are the best fan base in MMA. Make sure to check out my video talking about Anthony Joshua versus Francis Ngannou, that brutal knockout. I react to it on the channel. Go check it out. It's on the screen now, and some other videos. Guys, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.